This episode of the Jim Stroud Podcast is brought to you by me, actually, my newsletters. I have two to choose from. The first one being Career Intelligence Weekly, which tracks the invisible job market for smarter career decisions. My second newsletter, The Recruiting Life, clarity for what's happening now and next in the world of work. Get more information on both and subscribe to both by going to my website, newsletter.jimstroud.com. That's newsletter.jimstroud.com. Operators are standing by. On this episode of the Jim Stroud Podcast, I'm going to do something a little different. Rather than monologuing on the news of the day, I'm going to instead tell you a story based on the news of the day. A story that I call A Tale of Two Resumes. And it begins now. I checked my email again at 6 in the morning. Another message from Summit Logistics sat in my inbox. I had sent them my application 2 weeks earlier. This time there were two replies. The first one said they were sorry, but my experience did not match what they needed right now. Not an unusual reply for me these days. The second email I received from them, which was sent to a different email address I had made up the night before, said something different. It said they liked my background and wanted to set up a call. It was the same job, the same details about my work. The only difference was the dates. In one version, I had finished college in 1988, and in the other, I left the graduation year off completely and said I had about 15 years of experience without saying exactly when it started. I sat at the kitchen table and stared at the screen. The house was quiet except for the sound of the refrigerator running. For the next few weeks, I tried the same trick on other job postings. I created two versions of myself. One used my real name and real work history, including the time I took off to take care of my dad. The other used a name close to mine and a shorter work history with no dates attached. I sent both to the same companies. The pattern stayed the same. The version without the dates got replies. The version that was mine got the polite no thank you message. One day I answered the phone pretending to be the younger version of me. The woman on the other end sounded friendly. She asked about my experience and set up an interview for the next week. When I showed up, I used my real name and looked very much like the 58-year-old man that I am. The manager who interviewed me was polite, but he kept asking questions about whether I planned to stay with the company for a long time. He never said anything about my age, but I could tell he was thinking about it. They offered me a contract job. It was not the full-time position I had applied for, and it had no benefits. But bills are bills, so I took it. The office smelled like new carpet and coffee that had been sitting too long. My badge led me into most areas on the second floor. On my fourth day, I stayed late and looked through some shared computer folders the hiring team used. One folder was labeled with the name of the software they used to screen applications. Inside was a big list of people who had applied for jobs. It had columns for different kinds of risk. One column was marked age risk. Next to some names were notes like graduated before 2000 or long gap in work history. I saw my own name from an application I had sent months earlier, and it had a high risk score. Ironic. The next morning, I asked one of the younger women who worked with the hiring system to show me how it worked. She was helpful. She explained that the computer looked for certain things in people's backgrounds and gave them scores. Long gaps in work or finishing school a long time ago made the score higher, which meant the person was less likely to get an interview. She said they had turned on a special setting after the company that made the software got sued for keeping older workers out. Later that week, she came to my desk and said they had a big group of applications that the system had flagged. Most of them were from people over 50. She asked if I could help her go through them before an audit next month. She said it like it was normal work. And I told her I would help. That night, I sat in my car in the parking lot after everyone had gone home. The building was mostly dark. I thought about the 2 emails that had come on the same morning. I thought about seeing my own name on that list with a high risk score. I thought about how easy it had been to change a few details and suddenly become someone the computer liked better. The next morning, I opened my work email and I found a very interesting message. It said my activity on the shared files had been noticed and that someone from Human Resources wanted to talk to me soon. I did not answer right away. I looked again at the 2 versions of my resume I still had saved on my laptop. One had gotten me through the door, the other had not. Both of them describing the same person, me. Outside, a car drove by. Inside, the only sound was the quiet hum of the computer fan. You have been listening to the Jim Stroud Podcast, a proud member of the Purple Acorn Network. If you like what you heard, hate what you heard, or don't know what you just heard, I want to know about it. Email your questions and comments to podcast@jimstroud.com. That's podcast@jimstroud.com. Do it now. Operators are standing by. Well, that's it for now. I'll be back later, right here, with a brand new episode. So until then, bye-bye.